The silence of dawn still hung over the house when she woke up, with heavy eyes and a restless heart. What was once overflowing love now seemed like a succession of mechanical days, where gestures had become obligations and glances, mere distractions. But something was changing. Small details began to emerge, almost imperceptible, almost disconcerting. Were they signs of reconquest, or attempts to hide a secret? What she would discover would change everything, because sometimes what seems like suspicion is just the beginning of an unexpected revelation. Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is Linda Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. The morning light had barely risen when Nancy was already up. The clock read 5:15, and her heavy eyes betrayed yet another night of interrupted sleep. In the next room, Daniel was sleeping soundly, his serene face contrasting with the storm that was stirring in her heart. How did we get to this point? She thought, as she prepared the coffee in silence. 10 years ago, they had exchanged vows of eternal love in a blooming garden. On that day, Nancy believed they had built an impregnable fortress. But now, looking back, she saw only the ruins of a sandcastle. Sophia, 8 years old, and Lucas, 6, were still sleeping. They were blessings amidst the chaos, but also silent witnesses to the coldness that had settled between their parents. Family meals, once filled with laughter and stories, had turned into mechanical rituals of eating. Friday movie nights had been replaced by hours of individual screen time, Nancy with financial reports, Daniel with his cell phone. Nancy worked as an accountant at a reputable firm. She left before dawn and returned when the sun was already beginning to say goodbye. Daniel, a music teacher, had more flexible hours. He stayed with the children in the morning and went to the music school in the afternoon, returning in the early evening. The transition was always the same. Him leaving, her arriving. A quick kiss on the children's foreheads, instructions about homework, what was in the fridge, who had called. Their eyes rarely met. When they did, Nancy felt a tightness in her chest, a mix of longing and resentment. Sophia forgot her science book today. It's on the kitchen table, said Daniel as he put his backpack on. Again? You need to check her backpack before leaving, Nancy replied, not hiding her irritation. I'm late. We'll talk later, was the terse reply, followed by the sound of the door closing. Another incomplete conversation, another fragment of distance between them. Nancy felt her eyes well up, but she swallowed her tears. There was no time for crying when there were bills to pay and children to raise. That night they had the worst fight. Words long held back were spoken in a wrong way, with a wrong intensity. Hearts were wounded. The silence between them grew. Days later, something changed. Subtly at first, then undeniably. Daniel was different. The first time she found flowers on the kitchen table, she thought it was a mistake. Maybe for the children, or for some school presentation. But the simple card just said, "For you. D." Then came the small gestures. The dishes washed without her asking, the coffee ready when she rushed down for breakfast, Sophia's texts carefully reviewed. And the most disconcerting, when she criticized, he did not retaliate. "What is happening?" she asked one night while he put away the groceries he had bought without her asking. "What do you mean?" he replied, with a calmness that didn't match the Daniel she knew. "All of this. The flowers, the coffee, this sudden care. Are you up to something? Do you think this will erase what you said to me?" said Nancy, her eyes filled with tears. He smiled, and there was something new in that smile. Something that reminded her of the young man she had fallen in love with years ago. "Nothing has changed," he said simply, before turning back to organizing the pantry. The change should have made her happy. After all, wasn't that what she wanted? A more present, more attentive husband. But Nancy's heart, accustomed to doubting, sought less noble explanations, especially because there was a part of the change that didn't make sense. Every morning, when she was at work, she tried to call Daniel. And every morning he didn't answer. When questioned, he would only say that he was busy, or that he didn't hear the phone, or that he was dealing with the kids. But the excuses sounded hollow. "He's hiding something," Nancy concluded during a lunch with colleagues. "Men only change when they have something to hide or something to gain," said Vanessa, a divorced colleague who never missed an opportunity to pour bitterness over relationships. "Maybe he is genuinely trying to improve the marriage," suggested Patricia, the incurable romantic of the group. "Or maybe," interrupted Louisa, stirring her coffee with unnecessary intensity, "he is compensating for something. Guilt, perhaps." The word guilt echoed in Nancy's mind all afternoon. Why would Daniel feel guilty unless he was doing something wrong? And why didn't he answer calls in the morning? The solution came in a flash when she was passing by an electronics store on her way home. Small, discreet security cameras, easy to install. Before she could rationalize the decision, she already had the package in hand. The installation was simple. A small camera hidden among the books on the living room shelf, angled towards the sofa and the entrance. Another one in the hallway leading to the bedrooms. And a tracking device in the car, hidden under the driver's seat. For 3 days, she saw nothing beyond the routine. Daniel taking the kids to school, tidying up the house, leaving for work. No visitors, no suspicious calls. The tracker showed only the usual route. Home, school, gym, music school, market, home. The absence of evidence, however, did not quell her suspicions. On the contrary, it intensified them. He must be being careful, she thought, checking the recordings once more. It was on a Saturday morning, while reviewing recordings from previous days, that Nancy noticed something unusual. At 5:30 in the morning, when the house was still asleep, Daniel got up, went to the living room, and knelt before the sofa. He placed a small cushion on the floor and opened a book. Zooming in, Nancy recognized it. It was a Bible. For almost an hour he stayed there, reading silently. Sometimes his eyes closed in prayer. At certain moments, tears rolled down his face. Then he would take out a navy blue notebook from a hidden compartment at the base of the shelf, a place she didn't even know existed. Daniel wrote for long minutes, occasionally stopping to wipe his eyes or look at a photo he kept next to the notebook. Nancy paused the recording, her heart racing. This was not what she expected to find. It wasn't text messages to another woman. It wasn't secret calls. It wasn't betrayal. It was devotion. The following Saturday, when Daniel took the children to their swimming class, Nancy searched for the secret compartment on the shelf. It was exactly where she had seen it in the recording. A small opening disguised in the wooden base, behind a row of old DVDs. The notebook was there, along with the wedding photo. With trembling hands, Nancy opened it. On the first page, a date, coincidentally the day after one of their worst fights, and a simple phrase, written in Daniel's neat handwriting. "Today I decided to fight for my marriage with all I have left." The following pages were a diary of his journey. Daniel wrote about his failures, his regret for having grown distant, his decision to win back his wife. Nancy arrived exhausted today. I prepared a bath for her, but she didn't even notice. She is too hurt to see my attempts. I will not give up. I left flowers on the table. She thought they were for the children. It doesn't matter. One day she will understand. Today she yelled at me because of the bills. I took a deep breath and remembered the verse I read this morning. Love is patient. Love is kind. I want to be that kind of love for her. I am praying every morning for our marriage. That's why I don't answer the phone. It's my sacred moments with God, asking for wisdom to win back my wife. Page after page, Nancy discovered a man different from the one she thought she knew. A man who silently fought for their love when she had already given up. In a recent entry, he wrote, "Sometimes I wonder if she still loves me. If it's worth trying." Then I remember the promise we made, in sickness and in health, in joy and in sorrow. Our marriage is sick but not dead, and I will be the doctor who tries to heal it, even if she doesn't believe in the cure." Hot tears streamed down Nancy's face. Shame consumed her. Shame for having doubted, for installing cameras, for losing faith in the man she had promised to love. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the notebook, as if Daniel could hear her. "I never imagined you would be doing this for us." When the children and Daniel returned from swimming, Nancy was in the kitchen preparing a special lunch, something she hadn't done in months. The aroma of lasagna, his favourite dish, filled the house. "What is this?" asked Daniel, surprised. "I thought we could have lunch together, as a family." He smiled, confused, but didn't question it. Nancy's eyes were different. There was a light there that he hadn't seen in a long time. During lunch, they talked without rushing. They laughed at the stories the children told about their swimming class. For a moment, they seemed like that early family again. At night, after Sophia and Lucas went to sleep, Nancy found Daniel sitting on the porch looking at the stars. "Can I sit?" she asked. He nodded, moving to make space. "Daniel, I need to tell you something." The confession was painful. She talked about her suspicions, about the cameras, about having read his diary. She expected anger, disappointment, even for him to get up and leave, but Daniel just listened, in silence. "I understand," he finally said. "I gave you reasons to doubt. In the past few years, I haven't been the husband I promised to be." "Nor have I been the wife I promised," she replied, her voice choked with emotion. "I was so focused on what you weren't doing that I didn't see what you were trying to do." Daniel took her hand, a simple gesture they hadn't shared in so long that it felt new. "I thought it would be easier, that some flowers and a bit of attention would be enough," he confessed, "but I realized that rebuilding is much harder than building. It requires more patience, more dedication." "And I didn't make it easy," Nancy admitted. "I was so used to fighting, to defending myself, that I didn't know how to react when you tried to get closer." That night, sitting under the stars, they made a silent pact. It wouldn't be perfect, it wouldn't be quick, but both were willing to try. In the following days, Nancy removed the cameras. Instead, she started her own journal, writing about her fears, her hopes, her small victories along the path to reconciliation. Some mornings, she would get up before Daniel and prepare breakfast. Other times, she would leave hidden notes in his work bag. On certain nights, when the children were already asleep, they would sit on the porch and just talk about the past, about the present, about dreams they had abandoned. Sophia and Lucas noticed the change. The atmosphere at home was lighter. Smiles were more frequent. Movie nights returned, now with homemade popcorn and shared blankets. 3 months later, while organising the bookshelf in the living room, now with no secrets between them, Nancy found the navy blue notebook. "I think we need a new one," she said, showing that the pages were almost all filled. Daniel smiled, that smile that made his eyes shine. "I have a better idea," he replied, taking a new notebook with a brown leather cover from the shelf. "This is for the two of us, our story, written by 4 hands." On the first page, he had already written, "Today, we start again. Not from scratch, because we carry our scars and lessons, but with the wisdom of someone who almost lost something precious and now knows its true value." Nancy traced the words with her fingers, feeling the weight of each one. Then she picked up the pen and wrote just below, "With love, patience, and the promise to never give up on each other, even when the path seems impossible." That night, while Daniel slept beside her, Nancy thought about the journey they had travelled, about the suspicion that almost destroyed what silent devotion was trying to rebuild, about the power of a small gesture, flowers on the kitchen table, a prayer in the silence of the morning, a hidden notebook with words of hope. And she knew, with a certainty that came from the depths of her soul, that sometimes the greatest act of love is not in grand demonstrations. but in the silent courage to try once more, when everyone around would have already given up. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.